Oh, and we're live. Episode 145, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
Still the bad guy.
And I was just saying, as it popped live, and we're without our old man, TK, is on the road. I talked to him this morning. He sends his well wishes to everybody.
Is he being transported back to the nursing home right now? Is that what it is?
I didn't ask him.
He's probably got basketball or something like that with his daughter.
I think that's what it is. But, I have a strict no-ask policy. Like, if somebody wants to tell me what's going on, I'm more than keen to listen. But I don't pry. Like, I always feel like I'm prying. But it's probably the exact opposite. I probably seem like I'm a cold prick because I don't ask people about their personal lives.
I don't pay attention. So
yeah. Well, I don't think you take any offense to it. I mean, we talk a lot.
I always go with things as well. There's certain things I'll ask about, and there's certain things that I want plausible deniability.
Yeah.
If I
in general, not with me specifically.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, because if I know the answer, then I have to tell the truth if I'm asked. So, but if I never ask the question, I can say, to the best of my knowledge, I do not know.
Yeah, I mean, right?
All true. All true.
So I got a question for you, man. How much time did you put into that Voldemort mask?
So, overall, it was a lapse time only about 4 hours. But each time, so it was it was like the fourth attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I wind up doing is, just in case everything went south, I bought one that you had to still use liquid latex to kind of apply, just in case. But I had to wind up going big or going home because as I was playing around with it, I ripped it. So it was really, really flimsy. So then I really had to put some effort into making the mask. So that was my fourth attempt. It's basically liquid latex and flour. I'll see if I'll post up the link here pretty quickly. So I first create a face cast by which was using plaster strips. So be very careful for those people at home that decide they want to do something like this, because in the event that you decide that you're going to put plaster strips on your face, you want to make sure that you Vaseline up anywhere that you have hair on your face, because when the plaster dries, it's going to take all of that out. That's right. Thankfully, I paid attention. So I put it. It only let me put it in the private chat, so if you can see that and post it up there.
I'll put it up.
Yeah. So I use this link. So I Vaselined up my face. Vaseline keep my hair back. Created the face cast, and then the face cast after the plaster strips dry. That didn't take very long. Maybe 20 minutes. Then I take the plaster of Paris, put that inside all the plaster strips, because now they're dried and it's one hard mold. Let that dry overnight. Peel off the plaster strips. Kind of sand it, and then put glue over top of the face, and let that dry overnight. So now I have that way. There's when you go to put the stuff on there, it'll peel off very easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So first attempt, with the liquid latex and the flour. The first time I did it, I used way too much flour, and I couldn't mold it, and it dried too fast, so that was a scrap. Second attempt, which I was able to do immediately, seemed to be okay, but I made it too thin. So as I was peeling it off, it ripped.
It just tore? Yeah.
Yep. Third one, it ripped on the other side. The fourth attempt, I finally got it right. So each time was a day, but it only takes like, I don't know, 10 minutes to make the mask at that point. So really, you're just waiting for it to dry overnight.
Yeah, right.
So then the day of Halloween. So the whole reason for this is that where I work, they have a Halloween costume contest, and they're like really into it. I would say probably half the credit union participates, and then they vote. So the executives have never participated. So our CEO, being the new CEO, and with the new name out there, wanted this. He's like, look, we're going to participate. It's all in, one band, one sound. So he put out suggestions. We kept it quiet. No one knew we were doing anything, which was pretty cool. So our executive assistant, she said, well, let's do Harry Potter theme. I wasn't around. I think I was actually at Michigan when they came up with the idea, which was fine. So everyone's picking all the good people. So I picked Voldemort.
Well,
so,
I mean,
and I rewatched all the Harry Potter movies, and I was freaking people out because I had all of the movements down as to how he walked, how he carried himself. I mean, everything. So I was freaking people out because they didn't actually know it was me, because now the mask is straight to my face. I have the skull cap done using liquid latex, so it all blended in. And then I had to do that. So I actually woke up like at 5:30 that morning, and I was out the door. So the makeup and all that kind of jazz, getting ready, took like 2.5 hours.
It looked pretty good, man, in the photo you posted.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I dug it, and I just loved it because people didn't know it was me. They were like, "Who's Voldemort?" Because they had no idea. And I walk around all the time because, one, I didn't have glasses on. I put my contacts in. And I still have it, but I went all out. I even put the fake nails on, painted them gray, the hands. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And we won. So the employees voted, and it was a landslide. They were like, wow, you all went all out. It was fun.
2 things. Check this out. I don't think a lot of people realize the dude that played Voldemort, I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now. Same dude that played Jesus Christ in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. And if you remember right, the reason he wanted to play that role is because he was Opus Dei.
Yeah.
And so to make that transition, because it was like, that was a big thing. I remember when that came out. And man, I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, it was a big deal to him that he played that role. And then like he did a couple small pieces, and then he shows up as Voldemort. Like, anyway, man. So check this out. The reason I wanted to ask you about that is I don't often participate. I'm just not, funny enough, going to Ren Fair again today. I'm not a big, I really enjoy Halloween. This is my favorite time of year, fall. But I've never been, even as a kid, a big like dress up as. There's something about that. Who are you going as? That it does, I don't understand it. Like what? Anyway, and so at school, some gauntlets get thrown down by different departments, and there's going to be a contest this week. And so everybody's like, "Oh, do this, do that, do this, do that, whatever." And I'm kind of like, "Hey, listen, I got work to do. I don't know." And I figured, it's probably better to be seen as part of the cult than outside of it at this point. So I'll play ball and whatever, right? 2 days before the word comes down, do not, whatever you do not dress up, because by the administration, it is viewed as unprofessional for faculty to appear in costume.
Huh. So what did you go as?
Myself, man.
So you decided to not. I figured with them putting down the gauntlet saying don't do it, that you would absolutely do it. But
no, I was kind of like, like you know what I mean? Well, because I've always had this thing of like I enjoy it. I clearly see it as a valuable team building thing, and this is kind of what I was getting at. But it's just not me. Like I can't explain why. I've thought about it a lot. Even this week, I've thought about it. Like, well, why don't I have this drive to dress up? In particular, because I go to Ren Fair, and when I go to Ren Fair, I wear a period costume. But it somehow it feels different to me because I'm not going as. It's just. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because you're already a dwarf, so I mean, you're just basically dressing like they did in the 1100s. So I mean, I see it being just an extension of you. So,
But apparently, man, part of what I wanted to get to too, and because we're both at some place new, and it's been a while since I've been at a place new where like I'm really in it like this. Like, you know what I mean? Like really invested into it. And I've been kind of mesmerized by how you figure out the unwritten rules, like this Halloween business. Like that ain't written down anywhere, man. And people did dress up, and apparently that's like one of the fastest ways to get on the shit list. That was the quote in the email. And so, like, if you're new and nobody told you, and you think you're just playing along and being part of the community, right? All of a sudden, you're on the shit list. I mean, that could keep you from getting tenure. That one little choice is something that in this culture could end up being held against you. And there's no way to find out unless somebody tells you.
interesting. Well, that's why I'm glad the CEO came up with the idea here.
See, right.
But otherwise, I wouldn't have. Like I always did it. So, like my Star Wars, that's not me going as a character. That's me as if I was in the Star Wars universe. This is what I would wind up looking like, in my opinion, if that was the case.
Yeah, see, that's how I feel about Ren Fair.
Yeah. So, but the kids always want to be, oh, I want to be this, I want to be that, which is fine. It's cool. Yeah. Whatever. Natalie went as a unicorn.
Yeah, Lily's really into unicorns. Is Natalie into that Disney show called The Descendants, where it's like the kids of the evil witches and princesses from the Disney movies?
No, I don't think so. I mean, her mom doesn't let her watch a ton of stuff. So basically, it's if they're watching anything, it's Russian.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, but I actually have her here last night because they're up visiting family. So we got to play and all that kind of stuff. She's actually in there watching Frozen right now.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. And she was seeing she saw my face cast, so she wanted to make one. So I just peeled that off, and I'm like, all right, you'll have to take this out because she wants to paint it. And I'm like, well, you gotta take it to your mom and your grandma and let them sand this because it's gotta be smooth. So I don't have any sandpaper, but she had fun making it. She looked like a mummy. She's like, I look like a mummy. I'm like, yeah. So this is here's the segue too. Communication, like. Your executive team, your CEO communicated, hey, we're going to do this. Yeah. My executive team didn't. And there's like no way to know. Luckily, I'm fortunate that there's 3 people out of 5 in my department that have been there a really long time. And so they well know all these little unwritten rules. You know what I mean? And so I've learned really quick if I can't figure it out like really fast and it's ultra clear what the answer is, I just ask them. Well, that's good. The only potential issue is if they don't like you. Hey, man. Do
you know what they were going to dress up as?
Pirates.
This guy. They could be, and I'm not sure how to take that quite yet. Like, you know what I mean? I told you the Converse story, right? Where they all went and bought Converse.
I would, if I were you, I would take it as a major insult, and I would enact retribution tenfold.
No, I tend to take it as a major compliment, and I just ask, well, why are you in here talking to me? You should be out there building my statue.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get this straight. If you're going to treat me like the Pharaoh, then I'm going to act like a Pharaoh.
Like I said, I take it as an insult and eliminate them from the chessboard immediately.
Oh, man. So communication is like super important. Like last night in the Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal fight. Like, dude, I've never seen this happen in my life. A doctor comes in and checks a fighter, and the fighter is clearly lucid. So it's not a case where he's like concussed and he's just on instinct. He has a cut, and that's it. And the doctor says, "Are you okay? Do you want to continue?" And the dude says, "Yes. Yes, I am." Gives the double thumbs up and squares up, and then the doctor stops the fight. I've never seen that.
Neither have I. And well, while the cut was bad, to me, it was not bad enough to stop the fight. I have seen so many worse cuts than that. People want to be like, "Oh, I want to fight in New York. I want to fight in New York." No way. Look, New York is one of the strictest states in all regulatory industries to be in. And if I am trying to put on a promotion or something along those lines, I would always be asking for more money then, because I don't know what's going to happen. They're taking it out of my hands every time.
Yeah. Well, and especially, like, if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, because I saw this on replay. The fight was, the cut was under the eye, not over the eye.
It was both.
Yeah, right, because the big one was under, there was a small one over, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. He could see the blood wasn't streaming out of it, right?
But Diaz is always bleeding.
And it's the third round.
Yeah.
I mean, you ain't talking about like the first 10 seconds in the first round where this is only going to get worse, and there's a long time for it to be worse. Like, there ain't that much left in the fight, really.
There's not. And further to that, I mean, I don't know how much I put into know the fighter, so to speak, because, I mean, the doctors are there to supposed to be trying to protect the fighters because, fighters want to fight. Football players want to play football. You name it. They don't. None of them ever want to come out, and that's part of what they do. But, with that said, I also still blame Nate Diaz's corner because that cut started happening, I think, in the second round, maybe late.
I think so,
round.
Yeah.
I'd have been telling him, look, you better turn up the pace because as that cut happens and it's getting worse, you can't take any more damage to that eye. You better turn it up. And Nate Diaz has always been basically a championship round fighter. Dude fights fourth, fifth round. I mean, when he fought Conor, I think it went to the fourth round the first time, if I remember.
Yeah, fourth or fifth when he choked him.
Yeah. And then
the second one went all the way.
So, but, I mean, here's the other thing. Nate Diaz is not at that weight class. Jorge Masvidal is huge. Yeah. Bottom line is he's huge. He's able to get down that weight. Nate Diaz is going up in weight. While Nate Diaz will fight anyone, it's the same reason why Masvidal would destroy Conor McGregor as well. He's too big.
It's the exact same scenario when Conor fought Nate, more or less.
Yeah. Nate Diaz is bigger than Conor McGregor. Look, Conor McGregor is, what is that, lightweight? He's basically he's a 145 guy. He's not a 155 or 135, 140. I can't remember whatever one.
145 and 155 he did well at, but going up to 170, that's a big jump, dude. Now you're fighting people that walk around at 200. They cut to one,
I mean, there's a thing, like whatever, when he beat Jose Aldo, that's Conor McGregor's natural fighting place, and there he's never going to lose.
No.
He goes up to that next weight class where he's been trying to fight, where he also won the belt. He can lose because that's bigger than what he is. That's actually Nate Diaz's true fighting weight. He went up to fight Jorge Masvidal. Again, Jorge Masvidal is just too big for those guys. Nate Diaz had a better chance, but Conor McGregor would get crushed. He would get crushed.
Yeah. Well, see, and those are dangerous weight classes, and they always have been because you're fighting dudes that are still small enough to be really, really fast in their footwork and their hand speed, but they have light, heavy knockout power. You know what I mean? Because they have the bigger frame with the heavier muscle build. It's dangerous, man. And you're exactly right. I don't know. I thought it was interesting that in the interview, Joe Rogan said to Masvidal, "Would you run this back?" And he's like, "Yeah, immediately." And Joe said, "Okay, let's do it in Vegas."
Yeah, right.
Because I really don't think they would have stopped that fight anywhere else.
Never. I mean, they wouldn't. It was a horrible. And to me, it was just a horrible fight in terms of like how it went down. But I tell you, but some other people, what's his, the Black Beast. I for one, at some point, he's going to start calling himself Sexual Chocolate. The way he talks.
This is Derek Lewis, right?
Yeah, Derek Lewis.
Yeah. I took my shorts off because my balls were hot. That's that dude.
Yeah. I mean, he won again. Darren Till looked good.
Yeah, he's back in form.
Yeah, but he went up a weight class.
Yeah,
and he just took out the number 4 guy. I mean, there were some good fights last night.
Yeah, there were. There were.
For the first time. And it's funny when you take a look at what Conor McGregor says out there, and everyone wants to talk about how Nurmagomedov is a needle pusher. When he fought his last title fight, dude, there was like 1/10 of the pay-per-view buys.
Yeah.
So if you want money, that Conor McGregor moves the needle. Clearly, Nate Diaz moves the needle. Jorge Masvidal moves the needle. You know who doesn't move the needle? Tyron Woodley. John Jones moves the needle. Same thing, but DC doesn't move the needle. They don't get strong paper. There's just not. They're boring fights.
Well, and there's not a strong personality. I mean, even George St. Pierre, even though late in his career, I would argue the fights got a little boring. And that's because of how good he was compared to just about everybody else. And he fought a safe game plan. But he had a name. He had a personality. People liked him, and they wanted to see him. I think a lot of people, especially in the end, were waiting to see him lose, and fair play, right? I mean, it is a combat competitive sport.
I would say GSP probably has one of the, if not the best fighting IQ out there, because Michael Bisping's no joke on his feet, and GSP saw something in it. He didn't take Bisping down. He fought him standing up.
Yeah, well, I think it's safe to say that George took it as a safe fight, but that doesn't mean he it was like a guaranteed victory. I think it was safe in the sense that exactly what you said. He has a really high fight IQ, and he saw a hole that he was absolutely certain he could exploit as long as he stayed safe. Yeah. But man, that was a dangerous fight, no joke.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have seen GSP and Anderson Silva fight in their prime. That would have been an interesting fight. Because they both have good high fight IQ, both good on their feet, both good on the ground. It would have been, I think that would have been interesting.
I'll tell you the big difference between those two, I think, that has an impact on their legacy is GSP lost early in his run and learned his lesson. And Anderson didn't lose until the end, and he never really got it back.
Right. I think a big thing to that was GSP finally realized at a certain point, you can't stop my takedown. You just can't.
Yeah.
And it was safer for him to do that. Anderson Silva has a high level of jiu-jitsu, and instead of him, the first thing you're going to lose is your footwork and hand speed. So while that could be good, great. So as you're getting older as a fighter and you have these other skills, footwork, hand speed doesn't matter as much if you can submit them. And
right.
Silva didn't do that. He still felt he had that movement and got caught by a much younger dude who's been knocked out for like 4 times in a row now.
Yeah, dude, what a hard. And this is interesting. You see this in the sport. Think about what happened to Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? Didn't lose early in her career, lost later, never recovered from it. But the person that beat her is on a big losing streak now too. Yeah. It's interesting how fast, especially in some of these, let's say, middle weight classes, how fast the talent is turning over. That's just where all the people are.
Well, it's really coming to show you, and this is probably like this in life. If you're a specialist, at some point, someone figures out how to counter your specialization. There's no question that Ronda Rousey in judo is probably not going to lose. All right, she didn't lose very often in that. However, in mixed martial arts, she had no hands, she had no kicks. She's just a grappler, and you're going to get caught. The people who beat her were able to counter her one trick, so to speak, in judo. Holly Holm, also to me, one trick, kickboxing, high level, boxer, kickboxer type person. Who beats her? Amanda Nunes, who can do everything pretty well.
Yeah, exactly.
If her hands aren't working, then she can take you to the ground. No different than when she beat Cyborg, though she's faster than Cyborg. That was a big thing there. So even in cybersecurity, in technology, those people that are just database people, and that's it. Well, what are you going to do when there's no direct databases? When we go to serverless architectures and things move to a cloud environment, what are you going to do? You better evolve. You got to have more. You can't be a specialist anymore. You can have a specialization, but you better know a lot about a lot of things.
Yeah. I think that specialization really just ought to be the thing that you're most passionate about at the moment.
Yeah, mine changes all the time.
Right, and not at, like you said, not at the expense of at least having a working knowledge of the several other areas. Right? I mean, because you and I have always looked at it the same way. Is if I understand some of these other areas well enough, it only makes me better in this area that I'm interested in right now. So it behooves me to understand that stuff to let's say a moderate competency level.
Absolutely, because when you take a look at whatever you're trying to succeed at, remember it's what Wayne Gretzky said: good players play where the puck is, great players play where the puck is going to be. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing in life. That's your goals. And we've talked about this in the last couple of shows. Start being the person today that you want to be 5 years from now, because it's an iterative process. You're not going to change that much day to day. It's incremental.
Yeah.
So this is a big reason why people are in love with like an agile methodology, and that it's small incremental changes. And we've talked about this part as well. Big change will result in, or big solutions will result in no change. But small solutions will wind up resulting in a big change because people don't feel that pain. So
right.
Same thing with our lives. Start being a portion of what you want to be 5 years from now. And then you will. 5 years from now, you'll see that you're that person, or more than likely, even better than what you originally imagined.
Yeah, and because you're
winning is contagious.
And exactly, momentum's way more important. And the nice thing is if you're taking on small little bites each day, the cost of pivoting is really low. Like you don't have this giant sunk cost fallacy, like if you're stuck in some kind of, overarching waterfall method to kind of keep it in that idea. You know what I mean? You're being iterative and you're going fast at small increments. Like dude, that's so much better for me. It's just so much easier to manage. And the nice thing too, at least for me on a day-to-day basis, it's way less to remember. It's easier to keep track of and schedule.
It is, I've been helping, the credit union here evolve into that same type of methodology. And it's difficult because people don't understand the change, and they're, and especially in financial services, traditional financial services people, they go, well, this is not the way that we're used to doing things. Well, and this is why you're getting your ass handed to you by fintechs. This is why the P2P space and why Venmo exists, because you wanted everyone to use pop money.
Yeah. Well, and I think the smaller milestones, to take this back to where we were to kind of wrap this up, the smaller agile, rather than a whole component, a subcomponent of a component, it's much easier to communicate too. It's much more efficient. You don't need these monolithic standing weekly meetings. You just need 10-minute stand-up meetings, on a much more frequent basis. Well, and I think that's better, let's say, for the tribe too. You know what I mean?
That is a big reason why the core of my team, unless I really know the person, I don't want them working remote because I want to go and talk to them daily. And I do. I go around and I talk to almost everyone. I'm present, I'm available, and I get to hear from the rest of the tribe, not just my direct, people, but I get to hear from everyone what problems they're having.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can adapt. So, I'm trying to teach my people that same architecture, because it's an architecture for success. No matter what industry you're in, no matter what type of work that you're in, if you're in a leadership position and you want to know what the problems are, you don't sit back in your office and wait for the problems to come to you. You go out and you talk to everyone, because they're going to tell you. When you ask people, hey, what's going on? Tell me something about whatever issue is going on, or what issues are you having? A great example, we do a lot of team building type things. So we play volleyball. We were in the spring, summer, where we had a volleyball league, and in the fall they had softball. So I participated in both of them. I hadn't played volleyball since high school, but went out there and played, because then I get to meet the people, and they're going to say things outside of the workplace that might help them. Well, one of the people during softball had said, look, me and my entire team, our hotspots aren't working. We've called IT 5 times. They come down, they're like, I'll look into it. I'll give you a guess as to why the hotspot wasn't working. What do you think it would be? Most off the top of your head.
Was it plugged in?
Well, the hotspot on their phone. Phone.
On their phone.
Yeah.
It wasn't working?
According to the user.
Did they even have tethering enabled?
Tethering was enabled.
Okay. Man, I don't know. What would I check next? I would check the name and the password.
Bingo! Password was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, what password are you typing in? I'm like, well, I basically went, that's not the right password.
Right.
And she said, IT's been down here 5 times. So I'm like, well, that's good to know. A little training, because the first thing we check, in almost everything in life, the simplest solution is most likely the solution. Very few times do we really have an overly complex solution required to a problem. But that was exactly what it was.
Yeah.
The password that they gave her was not the actual password for the hotspot. And she just went by what they gave her. And so that was that. Wasn't right.
Well, and why wouldn't she? You can understand that, right?
Absolutely. So, and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they've been down here 5 times and you fixed this in like less than 10 seconds. Like, well, because, I worked on a help desk, and I know by how many times I've seen a problem, regardless of the problem, it always comes back to something small. Is it plugged in? Replace the cable, because back in the day, people would be rolling over these Cat 5 cables, and broken cable, replace it. It's all the time.
Well, it's amazing how it takes a bit of a career to figure out that things are actually way easier if you don't make any assumptions and you just start at the beginning.
Yeah, always.
It's like the OSI model, right? Just start at layer 1 and work your way up.
Well, there's a reason why the model exists.
Yeah.
And there's a reason, even though I hate it, when you call up the cable company, you have a problem, the first thing they do is like, okay, reboot your computer, reboot your cable mode. The reason is they want to start from a clean environment. That memory's been wiped out, all this kind of stuff, and we're starting fresh.
Yep.
It's not, so to speak, to figure out, or rather, it's not, so to speak, as a stall tactic. They may be looking up some things, but it's to start from a fresh environment.
Yeah.
And whenever we're looking to make change in anything, first thing to do, start from a fresh environment.
That's right. Start from a known good state.
And that's your life lessons for today, boys and girls.
And so that's why often, if there is a hard problem, I find it best to sleep on it. You know what I mean? Like let your mind and subconscious chew away at it and start fresh the next day. It's like rebooting, so to speak. You know what I mean? Or take a walk. Like here, I'll leave you with this, man. You know, like we talked before about that Joe Rogan joke. Do you think Michael Jordan leaves YouTube comments, right? Check this out. Have you ever heard of a serial killer that routinely took walks?
Yeah.
No. No. Think about it, man. If you get out and walk, not only are you getting a little bit of exercise, but you're getting some fresh air and your mind's chewing away at things. I don't think anybody that regularly does that, gets out and gets a little bit of, let's say, nature in their life, ends up being a serial killer.
Jack the Ripper.
Oh, I don't think that dude was out walking.
How do you know? Oh, it was like people are like, yeah, only serial killers do such and such, and I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
the looks that you get from people, they're like, what?
Oh, Jesus Christ, man! Oh. All right, you good next weekend?
Yeah.
Sweet. Sundays are working for me, so we'll keep up Sundays.
That's cool. So. We got off on a tangent last weekend. We didn't get to this one, but you wanted to talk living wage, tipping society. So let's definitely look to make that next Sunday.
Yeah, I think so, because I really also wanted TK's perspective on it.
We may have to remind him.
Yeah, I will. All right, man.
All right, my friend.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Be
Cheers.
excellent to one another. Peace.
Bye-bye.